So here we have 2 sirloin steaks. Now take a look at this right here. It's a fairly lean cut of meat that has, some pretty thick inedible fat going through it. Today, as I mentioned earlier, we're gonna try to cook these 2 different ways. One's going in the sous vide machine and the other one's going on the grill. Look, I've grilled this in the past before, and because of this thick fat and some of these other fat strands that go through here, along with the fact that it is lean, makes this a chewier cut. Typically, it's gonna be marinated, and I even like to cut it up and use it for skewers. Now, the problem with using it for skewers is, well, then you risk overcooking it, and once it becomes too dry, you really end up with what I call the Michelin Special. Now, before we get started, I just want to take a moment and thank my friends at Kitchenboss for sending me this brand new sous vide machine. Let's open it up and take a look inside. The first thing that you'll notice is that they send us these vacuum sealer bags, which is pretty cool in case you forgot to order it with your machine. You're going to need these and a vacuum sealer to go ahead and lock this up and for the sous vide process. Okay, and now for the device itself. And the other thing that they gave us is this sealer. This is what we're going to use to attach our sous vide to our water bath. Okay, so when I sous vide, I like to use this little cooler I have right here. Why? Because it insulates the temperature really well. The bottom line is you can use a bunch of different types of containers, whatever works best. But as I mentioned, this is the connector piece, for lack of a better way. It just goes right around there. We unscrew that. Before I do that, I just want to point out that this has levels, minimum and maximum levels, where the water should be at a minimum level and a maximum level for best workability. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get this attached. Now, the one thing I really like about this sous vide machine is this sleek, modern design. I mean, it looks really sharp. It also has that removable stainless steel bottom on it, which is really nice in case you make a mess and you need to get in there and clean it up, or something gets clogged in there. Unlikely, but it's a nice feature to have in case it does happen. It's easy to use as well. I mean, set it on here, you plug it in, and then we set the temperature. And what's really cool about a sous vide machine versus other ways of cooking is that this has really precise temperature control. You can set it to the temperature you want, drop the meat in, and it just does its thing. You never have to worry about an overcooked steak. But whether you use it indoor or outdoors, know that this is a very quiet machine. You can plug it in and go about your day. The reason people use this machine in general is because it creates restaurant quality food. Like I said, you don't have to worry about a burnt, overdone steak using this, which cooks it to perfection. Allowing it to cook over a long period of time also will take a tough cut of meat like this sirloin and help break it down so it's very tender. But that's why we're here, to do the experiment and see which one we like the best. Look, if you want to buy a Kitchenboss sous vide machine for yourself, we've included a link in the description below. You should go check them out. Before I start this machine, let's go ahead and get this steak seasoned up right here. We're just using a very simple seasoning of SPG, salt, pepper, garlic, on both sides. Now that it's seasoned, we're gonna go ahead and get it in one of these bags that came with our Kitchenboss sous vide. And drop it in there. And I want to keep this experiment even, if you will. So I'm not gonna add any additional butter or seasonings in here, just salt, pepper, garlic, and they're both gonna get the exact same treatment. Now that we have that in the bag, we gotta get it vacuum sealed. This vacuum sealer is gonna get all the air out of here. All right, now that we got this thing vacuum sealed, it's time to get it on in. But first, we need to get this water heated to the right temperature. I'm gonna go with 132 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm gonna cook this for 3 hours and see how it turns out. This is not a thick steak. It's only about a ½ inch thick. Sirloin can come in much thicker sizes. This is just what the store had, so that's what we're using. Now, this is a really easy tool to use. You just go ahead and hit the power button, and it starts going, okay? The next thing we need to do is just set it to our desired temperature. You can change it from Fahrenheit to Celsius with just the click of a button. The other thing you can do is you can use this setting mode to not only set the temperature, but to also set the time. All right, so now what I like to do is I just like to clip the steak to the side away from the circulator. That way it doesn't touch or interfere in any way with the process of the sous vide. We're just gonna get it over here, clip it to the side, and look, it really is that easy. We're gonna let this thing cook for 3 hours, and then we're gonna sear it over the grill. And my favorite part, do a taste test with this sirloin steak. I'm gonna get this in the fridge, grab a beer, and I'll be back in 3 hours. Okay guys, the sous vide steak is almost done. It has about 5 minutes left. I've been passing some time, enjoying some cold ones. We got a fire going in the fire pit. We got the grill going for our experiment. Now, before I get this seasoned, I just want to say, typically when I sous vide, I would sear it in a cast iron skillet. There would be no sense of starting a grill to then just sear a steak. But because I'm doing the experiment between grilled and sous vide, that's why I have that going. So the first thing I'm going to do is just hit this with a little bit of olive oil right here. And get both sides real nice like. Next, we're just gonna hit it with some more SPG, salt, pepper, garlic. Now, I typically do season my steaks 1 hour at least before cooking, but I wanna be consistent. I seasoned that sous vide steak right before I dropped it in the water, so I wanna follow the exact same process here, even though I have found that seasoning your steak at least 1 hour prior to cooking delivers the best results. So we got this seasoned. That Weber grill is hot. We're gonna go drop it down, get it cooked, and while this is resting, we're gonna sear the sous vide steak. All right, so we sous vide this steak at 132 degrees Fahrenheit for 3 hours. We've already grilled our other sirloin steak. That's resting. So let's go ahead and cut this open. And the first thing we're always gonna get when we sous vide is a lot of that juice in the bottom. That's what we call the purge. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and remove this steak. And as you can see, with sous vide, it just does not get a really pretty exterior. So that's why we need to sear it once it's done sous videing. I'm gonna do the same thing here, just hit it with a little bit of oil. Before I add the oil, let's always remember that we're gonna pat our steak dry after it comes out. Why do we do this? Well, because it's much harder to get a sear on a wet steak than a dry one. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get that all patted dry to promote a really nice sear, the best we can get. Now we're gonna hit it with just a little bit of that oil. And there's still plenty of seasoning on this, so I'm not gonna re-season it. I can feel that salt, pepper, garlic with my hands. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sear this for about 30 seconds per side, and my favorite part, test the results. Okay, both steaks are cooked. Now it's time for the moment of truth. We're gonna cut them open, see how they look, and more importantly, how do they taste? Over here, we have our grilled steak. Over here, we have our sous vide steak. Let's check them out. Beginning with the grilled steak right over here. And let's open that up for you. That's like a medium rare temperature moving to rare over here. Kind of the same thing we're seeing right there, okay? Just go ahead and cut that up in some nice slices. Look at that, all right. Now it's time to cut open this sous vide steak. Let's check it out. And I would say that is probably more of a medium temperature. That's a medium rare, maybe a rare in some parts, and this is more edge to edge, the same color. Now the one thing you'll notice over here with this strictly grilled steak is you get more doneness around the exterior that's cooked, but what we don't have is that edge to edge doneness that we're gonna see right over here with the sous vide steak. Now, because they are cooked at different temperatures, I pulled the end piece of this grilled steak, which has closer to a medium temperature, so we can get a more accurate test. We've talked about how they look. Now, let's see how they taste, beginning with our grilled steak right here. It's a good steak. It has that that little bit of chew that you're used to finding with a sirloin. Because this is from the end piece, I don't have any inedible fat that you'll sometimes find in a sirloin. But when I go for that center piece, it is a little bit chewier. No question about it. And depending upon which part of the steak that I cut, I may get one of those thick, veiny pieces of fat, which does not make for a good chew. Now let's check out our sous vide steak right over here. And boy, that just cut so easily. I mean, oh, the tenderness difference is night and day. Night and day. This over here, look, it's a lean steak, so you don't get a lot of fat, you don't get a lot of flavor from it, which is why we try to add that, but also it's a little bit chewy. Compared to the sous vide steak right over here, the sous vide sirloin, man, that is so tender and so good. One other thing I'm noticing as I bite into the sous vide steak, it really melts what would be otherwise an edible fat. That's what shows up right here with the steak. And look, you're gonna see that right here, right in the middle. Look, that fat piece that separates those two muscle groups, that's not gonna be edible. That's gonna make for a terrible bite. You come over here, same portion of the steak, and it just melts away. It melts in your mouth. I notice this when I sous vide pork chops as well, and it has that little fat cap on the exterior. It turns into a texture and a flavor that's very similar to marrow or a really rich butter. Guys, you gotta try this at home for yourself. The other thing I wanna mention before I close out this video is that Kitchenboss sous vide machine really is incredibly quiet. I've used another sous vide machine, a very popular one, and when we cook with my other one, I can't even have that thing running in the same room while we're shooting because it creates a humming noise. Not the Kitchenboss. Very quiet. If I hadn't set it there, I wouldn't have even known it was running while it was going. Hey, if you like this vid, you guys know the drill. Go ahead and hit that big thumbs up, like button, or even better, subscribe to our channel so you'll never miss an experiment. Every single week, we're releasing a new video to show you how to turn up the tasty. Not only that, but we also have a new program. That's called Meet America. That's our travel cooking show where we're traveling the country, meeting experts all over the place to share recipes that you can recreate right in your own kitchen. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna get back to this steak right here.